This podcast contains explicit language.
Bafangu!
Houston, flight is go.
Mila, let's go. SPM. Safety contact.
From Assignment X, thesoniashow.com, and Amalgamated Storytelling, this is the Dorking Out Show, the podcast for people who love stories from movies, TV, books, podcasts, and everywhere else.
Welcome to episode 113 of Dorking Out. This is the Avengers Go On for Infinity edition. With me today is my co-host, Emmy Award-winning filmmaker and nerd author, Christopher Allen Smith.
And with me today is my co-host, professional writer and creator of The Sonia Show, Sonia Mansfield, and her by far worst half, less talented half, David Tracy. That's not what's written here, but we all know it's true.
That is not what I wrote there.
It's okay.
Oh, he's used to it. I'm a jerk.
I'm used to it.
But no, it's
He's
Sonia's
100% my better, more talented half.
Sonia's better, more talented half. David Tracy,
Hi.
who is on the show today for a very special announcement. Comeuppance finally happens today, but you will have to wait to the end of this episode to find out what I'm referring to. David's day to shine in the sun may finally be here. But before that, we have some business to get out of the way, which is reviewing the biggest opening movie of all time, Sonia Mansfield.
Yeah. Oh, that.
That's
that
right.
thing. What movie is that again?
It is Joe Dirt.
Oh, Joe
The
Dirt.
sequel.
David
Joe Dirt
Smith.
3.
Dirtier, getting dirtier. Joe Dirt 3.
I love Joe Dirt 3.
Yep, Dirty 30.
Dirty 30. It was so good.
That's right. You know what I loved about Joe Dirt 3? That they didn't make it.
Yay.
That's what I love the
End of
most.
That's
That's right. All right. But no, really.
Terrible choice for that movie, though. I mean, let's be honest. That was a terrible directing choice.
It was so artsy.
That's right. That's right. No, but really, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about the Avengers Infinity Wars. Infinity War.
That's
Or was it Wars?
how
Let's be honest.
How
Wars.
great would it be if the super secret title of Avengers 4 was just adding an S to this title?
Isn't it?
It
I
could
just
be.
assume it is.
I don't know.
So this movie made $250 million this weekend in this country, and we were talking about this before we started recording. $630 million worldwide. It is
The biggest,
insanely popular. Everyone and their brother has seen it, but we are still going to talk spoiler free for a little while,
right?
and then we're going to reveal everything. So
Because
consider yourself warned.
I don't think you can talk about this movie without talking about spoilers at a certain
I
extent.
don't know how you talk around it. And I have to say, people have been talking about this movie since Tuesday night, I think, nonstop. So
Right.
I've had to limit my social media. I've worked overtime to not spoil it for myself.
How'd you do?
I did great.
No
I
kidding.
did not spoil it for myself. Did
She
you?
was on the social media wagon.
Good.
Not really, but I just did a really good job of not reading that stuff. How did you do?
I did pretty good. I actually
Because you saw it right away, though. I didn't
so,
see it
yeah.
till Sunday morning.
It was so pleasant. Well, that's the thing, is all the reactions came out Tuesday, and there were a bunch of people, a bunch of jerks, because that's what the internet is now, just a collection of
Yes.
jerks, trying to spoil it. So I stayed away from the internet and stayed away from social media, and I gotta say, I think I might make this a habit. It was pretty sweet. It was very
Aren't
nice.
you in a much better mood when you stay off social media?
I am. It's really weird. I was thinking about this. I don't know what it is, and this is, many studies have borne this out, but what is it about the internet that make it so easy to communicate bad, awful, irritating emotions, and so difficult to communicate good, uplifting, sweet emotions? I don't know what that is, but that has nothing to do with Avengers Infinity War, so I am going to stop this tangent right here.
That's all about Infinity War. It's about sweet emotions.
That's right. It is. So, speaking of which, what did you guys finished watching this movie, the culmination of the storytelling journey that we have been on since
So how
2008.
many movies have they made before this? Is it like 18 movies?
I believe it's 18. I believe this is the 19th.
Okay.
What did you guys have had a couple hours to digest.
Yes.
What were your thoughts on Avengers Infinity War?
I don't think I have a very popular opinion. David, do you want to go first?
Nope.
I'm going to start with the good.
Holy
There are
smokes.
parts of this movie that I like very much. I like the Guardians of the Galaxy very much. I was very happy to see a lot of the characters because we have watched them in 18 other movies. I super care about them. There were some very enjoyable parts. I don't want to spoil a bunch of things about, like, I don't want to give away like every little detail, but there's some characters fighting together like side by side that I really loved seeing. I do want to say how much I really love Tom. Is it Tom Holland playing
Yes.
Peter Parker and
It is.
Spider-Man?
That's right.
I think he's so wonderful. Like, I really, really, really like him. But I really like everybody in the movie. It's not really any particular actor's fault that I had trouble connecting with some of the movie because so much of the movie felt like the final act of every Marvel movie I'd seen before.
Uh-huh.
So it was like a lot of like Iron Man robots fighting and a lot of shooting and just like a lot of crazy action where I don't know where everyone else is. And coincidentally, right before we went to go see the movie, we dropped our son off over at my mother's house and she was watching The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
Uh-huh.
And I was thinking about those movies and how they were so good at juggling multiple characters, many complicated storylines, and bringing them all together. And even when it's like dark, like Two Towers and how it ends, it's not like hopeless.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into this movie hoping for something like that, and I didn't get that.
Okay.
So I was a little disappointed, but I realized that is not a popular opinion because then we went and had dinner at my mother's and my sister and her kids have seen the movie and some of them have seen it twice and they super love it. And I felt like a dick.
Holy smokes. All right. That is a very interesting take. That is not what I expected. Well, let me ask you this then.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm not sure I can think of a movie that is more fraught with or freighted with expectations than this movie. You know, maybe the first Star Wars prequel where, you know, there's a fan base that has been completely dying in anticipation for a very extended period of time, waiting
Yes.
for a certain singular cinematic event.
Yeah.
And so it's difficult to juggle emotions and juggle thoughts and whatever. Going into this though, what were you hoping for? Like what kind of movie would have been a little bit more satisfying, do you think?
I know that this movie was divided into parts. Like I know another movie is coming. So, but it still needs to work as a single movie. And I felt like this one just didn't for me. I guess it doesn't. We talked about this a lot in the car after the movie where like it didn't have like that beat of like I just needed something hopeful, I guess. Like I didn't like the way the movie made me feel at the end.
Oh, interesting.
Like I actually said to David at the end of this movie, like, I don't like the way this movie made me feel. It's made me feel awful. I might have even said, fuck this movie.
Holy smokes! Sonia Mansfield with the hot take.
But that was like an emotional, response. I don't think, fuck this movie. There's a lot of things in the movie that I really did enjoy. It's just overall, I didn't like it as much as I wanted to, even though it's filled with characters that I super love. And I think, I don't want to get into spoilers, but it's really hard to watch characters you super care about get beat up for 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found that difficult to watch, not fun for me.
Okay.
What did you think, David?
Yeah, what did you think, David?
I don't have quite the negative take on it. I think my expectations going into it, and I was a little less. I wasn't like super jonesing to go see it because of my expectations. It's a culmination of so many plot lines and so many characters, and it's a gigantic. I walked into it thinking this is going to be the longest Battle of the Bastards ever. Like it's a huge orgasm movie, and it's just inevitably with so many characters, you're going to get some people aren't going to get enough attention that you like, or it's just going to be muddled. It's hard enough to do a good ensemble movie, which I think has been demonstrated because there've been a lot of some ensemble. I think ensemble movies are far more difficult to pull off than people realize. I think the first X-Men movie was the very first ensemble movie that made people think, holy crap, we actually can make an ensemble movie that actually might work. So, and that was kind of the case for me, where it just seemed like I enjoyed it. There are parts I loved. There are parts that I liked where I got to see people being, I felt this is one of the first times we could really see Doctor Strange be a badass.
Yeah.
Because in the comics, he is super duper powerful and smart. And but I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it. I expected it to turn sour, and but I think it's going to be kind of it's not going to sit with me. Like I will forget it pretty quickly, unfortunately.
There's a couple of scenes in there I think that are going to sit with me longer.
Yeah.
But it's not a movie I want to go back to because, like I said, I didn't like the way it made me feel. And my sister basically said that I was being a pussy, that I think, that I'm such a baby, that I'm being so spoiled that, I don't like the way the movie makes me feel. And I'm like, that's literally what she said.
That is a sister on sister critique right there.
But I feel like my feeling is a justified feeling. Like, I think Marvel movies in general, you leave feeling good, even like when the end is like even Civil War, which had a pretty bummer ending, ends it like on a kind of hopeful note where you like, oh, this is where it's going to go now. And that's going to be really interesting. And I can't wait. And that's what leads to Infinity War. But this just didn't have that for me. But maybe I am just being a pussy. Smith, what did you think? Am I being a pussy?
Yes. You are. I hate to tell you this. But yeah, this is the first part of a two-part thing. This is the well, let me stick back. I agree with a lot of what you're saying about this movie. But for me, almost all of those things work as strengths for this movie rather than weaknesses. And one of the things I will, push back a little bit about is I don't think it's reasonable to expect this movie to stand on its own as a movie on its own. This is a movie that is meant to be the culmination of, 18 movies. If you want to think about this is the season finale of season 1 of
right. Well,
the Marvel show.
I'm not saying like, oh, you need to be able to walk into it without having seen any other movie and understand everything. That I understand, but I don't think it should rely on a sequel that we haven't seen yet to be a good movie. Like, I feel like it should be a good movie now. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but I
mean, the truth is, like, maybe
disagree.
the next Avengers movie comes out, and maybe I super love it,
right,
and then maybe it puts a different spin on this one that makes me like it more.
I hate to tell you this, Sonia. You are applying a standard to this movie that would have equally applied to The Empire Strikes Back. That was all about downer endings and feeling bad and peril and...
No, The Empire Strikes Back. David and I talked about this one in the car, too. The Empire Strikes Back, actually, it has a bummer ending, but it does have that kind of hopeful note. Like, at the end, like, he's got his new hand. They look out the window together. Like, we're going to find him.
I disagree. I hear what you're saying, but for me, even though he got his new hand, it's kind of like it's not as awful.
His new hand, and Lon's like, and Han is like, we're going to find him, and you worry.
Han's frozen in carbonite. Han's gone.
I'm sorry, Lando. Lando says, like, we're going to find Han and all this stuff. It says it's more hopeful than what we got here.
Now, here, and the other thing is, I think for this movie, 18 movies of up endings, you've earned the right to have a dour, fearful, possibly hopeless ending. I don't think you can do your garden variety. Even like Civil War, I hear what you're saying there. I think Civil War would have been stronger if they had not had that last little, don't worry, they'll still be friends eventually kind of thing. And I think that's one of the big critiques for Marvel movies is that they pull their punches a little bit too much. Even when people get killed, they can come back. And even when people have relationship-rending conflicts, well, we're going to hint that everything's going to be fine in the end. I do think that is kind of a weakness of the Marvel movies that I really respect them going full bore on this one and kind of saying, no, sometimes bad stuff happens. Sometimes it matters. Sometimes it sticks. Sometimes it means something. And, we've gotten used to our heroes and their daring do, but sometimes you do not win. Sometimes the bad guy accomplishes his mission, and I don't know how that might be resonant in today's climate. But there's a lesson. But actually, that turns me to one question.
Maybe that's why. Maybe because of our current political climate is the reason why I couldn't deal with what this movie wanted to give me.
Well, that's an entirely valid way to go. But let me ask you this.
Yeah.
One of the things that we have not mentioned so far, and I believe I believe the Russo brothers, the directors of Infinity War, mentioned that they kind of almost saw this movie as a biopic of the main villain, Thanos, who's been hinted at, shown a couple times in movies up to this, but this is the arrival and supremacy of one of Marvel's biggest villains, Thanos, the Mad Titan. What did you think of the villain in this movie?
Well, I guess he's a good villain because he really is. I mean, he's really cruel, but he has like a motive for like what he's doing, and you're like, well, I don't agree with him, obviously. But at least there's like some sort of logic behind it to him anyway, that makes sense. One of the things about the beginning of the movie, and once again, though, I don't want to get into spoilers. Well, I do appreciate what you said about like that this movie talks about that here are the stakes matter. These things are going to happen and they mean something. And I do appreciate that. And there's some things that happen at the very beginning of this movie that make it clear that Thanos is not to be fucked with. And I do appreciate that and think that it makes him a very strong villain. But it doesn't change my opinion of the movie.
Well, let me ask you this. I think what we might
What
need
did you
to
think
do-
about the look of Thanos, by the way? David's been asking this.
You know, it's really interesting is that in the stills and in everything coming up to this, I was really distracted and not liking it. But in this movie, like, there were moments when I was really, really looking. I was really looking close, and there was something about the performance. It's kind of one of those things where, you know, who knows how true this is, but you kind of see, like, a lot of shots in previews and in promotional material are kind of like almost done shots, nearly done shots, shots that they might change in the final version or whatever. So you never really know what's going to come through until you see the final movie. And I was very impressed. I was really connected. I was thinking I might be kind of distracted by the goofiness of the presentation of Thanos. You know, he's a big 8-foot tall purple dude,
Right.
you know, that looks kind of ridiculous.
Grimace.
Yeah, that's
Right.
what
Grimace.
Peter Quill calls him. Grimace.
And yeah, and then but when you see it, the performance came through. It really was a real character, and pretty soon I was not paying attention to the effects, and then even every time I would remind myself, "Hey, take a look at this," it would really hold up and worked out really well. I really liked it. I was very impressed. I thought it was really good.
I'm glad that you like it so much. David, what did you think about the look of him?
It's one that I'm interested in it only because to do a CG character that's a humanoid like this is really, really difficult.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to look video gamey, even though video game stuff is looking amazing too.
Right.
I thought the facial animation on him was actually really, really good. I thought his face movements were pretty darn impressive. But there are moments just like in watching Hulk 2 where, I mean, I feel like I'm a little close to it. So I notice and think about it while I'm watching it too much. So it might have distracted me a little bit just because it's harder to get sucked into a character that is human that you know is fake. Whereas in like the Planet of the Apes, you just get sucked in because they just look like apes and they're talking apes and you can't believe it while you're watching it.
Yeah.
You don't even think about them being CG for so much of that, let alone actors acting opposite.
Yeah.
Something like that. So that's a really, really tough thing for VFX to do. So I thought they did a good job with it, but I was aware of it. But he did look like Grimace.
Yeah.
My big complaint with him is I didn't like him walking around in a tank top all the time, a wife beater. Because Thanos is just so badass in his costume and his helmet, and like the way you see him in the comics. Like you don't see him walking around in his boxer shorts in the comic ever.
Yeah. So you thought maybe he was taking the whole like casual Friday look too far.
Yeah. He was wearing a slanket.
Like it.
Galactic slanket.
Yeah. So can I ask, Smith, who's your favorite of all of these characters?
I would say Steve Rogers, either Steve Rogers or Tony Stark, but you know, that's one of the things about this movie, and I think I might have thought of a way to maybe talk you into liking this movie a little bit more, but I'm going to try that in a second. Or like an angle. I'll talk to you about the angle that I was looking at this from that I think might have helped me like it a little bit more.
Also,
but,
I think you want to I should also mention that this movie's too long.
Wow.
It's too long.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I don't think so. Let me step back. Steve Rogers, but I do have to say in this movie there's not enough Captain America in this movie. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like
questions about him. Where has he been? What's he been up to? He just kind of shows up.
Why has he got a beard?
Well, I think he's been in.
Where's
he's
shield?
been in Wakanda. Tony Stark has his shield, or the Avengers have his shield.
Oh, that's right.
He dropped it at the end of Civil War, and I think that's the thing is there's something about this is going to be kind of ridiculous in the way they say this. Is there's something about him wearing the red, white, and blue, the American vibe, and him being so good. It's kind of like he's representing the best of America, and he's showing the world that we're not just all what's.
Yes.
And the fact that he doesn't have that anymore, it's
he didn't
it's a
look like
little
Captain.
embittering. I understand why, and I understand why he kind of had to walk away from the evil. He had to walk away from Shield because it turned out to be Hydra. But
right.
I just wish that I want the old Cap back a little bit, and I'm hoping that maybe in Avengers 4 we'll get some of that. But what I was going to say is I want to throw a theory by you. Is I think what I did is I think what I did was I looked at this movie as though it's the last hour of Return of the Jedi in comparison to the rest. Essentially, the Marvel Cinematic Universe up until this point has been kind of telling its movie story. And then this 2 hours and 40 minutes is the Endor fight / Death Star 2 fight / lightsaber Emperor's Chamber fight, and all this movie is that kind of George Lucas, we're going to cut from this thread of the action to this thread of the action to this thread of the action, then we're going to go back to the first thread, second thread, third thread, back to the first. And from that point of view, when I looked at this as the finale of a movie, the movie being the whole 18 hours of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I found that part of it immensely satisfying.
Okay.
But so I want to throw that.
Then what we do here is we both had different expectations for this movie.
Right.
Whereas you're looking at it being like it's the penultimate episode of a season.
Right.
I'm looking at it more as this movie needs to work on its own.
Well,
it needs to work without its finale. And for me, I needed a little bit more. And
let me ask you this then. I hear what you're saying, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think for me this felt like episode 1 of Star Trek: The Next Generation's Best of Both Worlds, which is like there's foreboding.
I don't know what that is, Reg.
That is yes, you do. Don't you lie to me. It's the episode of Star Trek where Captain Picard gets captured by the Borg and gets turned into a Borg, and there is no hope, and the Enterprise is screwed at the end, and they're going to blast the Borg cube and kill their captain, and then the credits come up and says, "To be continued." It is like one of the most dramatic cliffhangers in the history of television, and for me, this was like that. There's it's in that, and maybe that's kind of what I'm thinking of, is it's scratching my Star Wars itch and my Star Trek itch at the same time. in that classic Star Trek: The Next Generation episode, it starts out with our biggest enemy is coming at us, and the whole episode is foreboding, and then, oh my God, the bad guys have done something that no one else has ever been able to do to our heroes. Our heroes are screwed. They're in not a little bit over their head. They are in way over their head, and all hope is lost, and we are screwed. And that, for me, that's a fantastic, I don't know, I like that kind of dynamic, knowing that you're going to get, in this case, Avengers 4, that's going to kind of, it's got, in order for the kind of the hero's triumph to be its sweetest, they gotta, they have to suffer. That's, it's the old mantra of storytelling, is you make your characters suffer. And boy, did they do that.
I guess so. It's just,
yeah.
I don't know. It's not my idea of a good time.
Okay. I do hear that. I do hear that. And it's funny because
I should make it clear. There are parts of this movie I do super love.
Well, let's
we're going to talk about those. And
yeah, let's do this.
It's not like I'm not like, hey, this movie's a huge piece of shit. No one should see it.
Yeah.
Like there are parts of it I really did enjoy, and I'm glad that everyone else is enjoying it. I feel like I'm missing out. Like something about it.
I hear you. I know
is not connecting for me, is not working for me. It could be because, like you said, with our current political climate, like I need something a little bit more uplifting and I'm not going to get that from this movie.
Yeah.
But I do think when you talk about like Return of the Jedi and the cuts to the different stories, and I think that movie does it very well. I think all the Lord of the Rings movies, the original ones, not the Hobbit ones, do that really well too. And I just feel like those movies, they just did a little better, I guess.
Yeah. No, I definitely hear where you're coming from. And it's funny, I say that, but I was listening to The Watch, and they were talking about season 2 of The Handmaid's Tale, and it's like, this is great. This is done very well. The acting is amazing. We're not watching this show because we can't take this kind of bleakness right now. Our appetite is not up for it. And I've heard, I have friends that have been going through really tough times in their life, and I as I've done on the show from a million times, it's like, oh, Breaking Bad's the greatest show ever, and they start watching. It's like, I can't take this show. I'm not watching this show. It is fantastic. I see what you're talking about, but I'm just not in a place where I can.
Right.
I'm like that all the time.
David, David is like that David doesn't watch any of that stuff.
No, I can't watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It's too Game of Thrones is too dark for me. I mean, maybe the reason this isn't a problem for me, this movie, is just because it's a comic book movie, and in comic books, this sort of, the rules of storytelling do not apply. It's a soap opera, and people come back all the time.
Yes.
And it's you just actually, I mean, you just know.
Yeah.
So I think it's because of that knowledge ahead of time. Maybe it didn't affect me so negatively because I already knew that this is a temporary situation.
And I will say, to Marvel's credit, some of my kind of negative feelings toward this movie is because they've done such an awesome job in their earlier movies with these characters. I super care about all of these characters. And there were some things in this movie that I found very upsetting.
Right.
So, tip of the hat to you, Marvel, because I do super care.
Let's do this. Let's wrap up our spoiler-free section of this with here's what I'm gonna do. I am gonna try to guess your number for this movie.
I hate doing the numbers.
Perhaps you can make some changes in the future. More on that later. I'm gonna try to guess your number. Let's give our numbers, and then we'll go into the spoiler section so we can really dig into some of this stuff. I'm going to guess 6. Because
I don't think so. I think you're high.
Oh, wow. Because I was going to say 5, because you seem to be pretty negative, but there is a lot that you like, so you're somewhere in the middle. And I think on balance, you might tip up a little bit to 6, but now having heard David say that, now I'm wondering, but you know what? Screw it. I'm going to stick with 6. I predict you're going to give this movie a 6. Sonia Mansfield, what are you going to give Avengers Infinity War?
I was going to say 6.
I thought no way you would do 6.
Oh, interesting. Perhaps I know your wife better than you do, David. That's interesting.
I just think when I think of 5, I think of like a movie that's totally middling. And I don't think it's totally.
But but there are parts of this movie that you did not like.
Yeah.
True. Right.
And that bothered you.
Yeah.
So a 6 movie, any movie that bothers you is not going to be in the positive.
You think my 6 is too high?
No. Don't you try to talk her out of this.
No, I'm not.
I nailed this right on the head. You leave. I'm going to defend my victory. You leave her alone. I was right.
I'll give it a 6.5 then. Because I liked it more than you.
So you don't even think it's a 7?
But I don't know if I think it's a 7.
I think that is very interesting. All right. My number.
Well, if he gives it a 6.5, then I probably am more like a 5. Judging on the David scale.
Oh, really? Yeah, I thought you were a feminist, but you're going by your husband's opinion. That's
very
interesting.
I said if we were judging it on David's scale, it would be a 5. But
why isn't he judging it on the Sonia scale? That's all I'm asking. But whatever. To each his own. I am going to give this movie
an 8.
Holy smokes, you nailed it.
Maybe David knows my co-host better than I do.
I was just gonna say that. I know your wife better than you, but you know me better than she knows me. That is very interesting. What a San Francisco lifestyle. Anyway, the point is, this is a really good movie. This is a very satisfying movie for the Marvel nerd in me. But this is a lot of it. The themes it touches on are not anything new, extraordinary, cleverly done in this. I think everything about this movie is exactly at the level of competence and excitement that we've come to learn Marvel can deliver, but nothing beyond that.
Yeah, it's tough because you're following up, Black Panther.
Right. So, sorry, keep going.
No, that's it.
So now we are going to go into spoilers. Sonia Mansfield, what are some of the things that you wanted to talk about that you couldn't talk about?
This movie has, at the beginning, what David correctly called the Alien 3 beginning, which is, we're going to shit all over the movie that you just watched before this one. So it took Thor Ragnarok's, nice ending and just crap all over it, at the beginning of this one, with, half of his people dead. That's really sad. Where's Valkyrie? We don't see her. Is she one of the dead people? Is she off with the people that are not dead? That's upsetting.
Right.
I also think they really could have called this movie Guardians of the Galaxy Infinity War. I loved seeing the Guardians of the Galaxy, and pretty much every time they were on screen, I was wishing this was a Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Right.
I love those characters very much. I was a little when they split them up, but I enjoyed seeing them interacting with other people from the Avengers.
Right.
So I thought that was a thing I actually really liked. I liked seeing the other characters interacting with each other. So I loved seeing Black Widow fighting with Black Panther and his lead soldier, whose name I can't remember. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I liked seeing that stuff, but like I said, I'm very attached to a lot of these characters. So it was very upsetting to watch Gamora die, or, pretty much everything that happens at the end.
Right.
It was very upsetting, especially the Spider-Man one.
Oh, I love that one. But in a very sick
one was
way.
Very upsetting, made me bring my hands up to my face no. Which, I guess credit to the movie for making me feel that.
Right.
Because he's not, Spider-Man is not dying. He'll be back. There's no hint in your mind at all that he's actually dead.
I know that, but it is still really upsetting. And this is something I had a problem with Spider-Man Homecoming too, in that it's not even a problem, it's a good thing, but he is a kid. He is just a kid.
Right.
And for him to, say I don't feel well, and then be I don't want to go, I don't want this.
Oh, I love that part.
It's so really hard to see. It's really sad. It's hard. And it's just like a punch in the gut.
Right.
And by the way, I'm not pointing this out as something I don't like. I'm pointing it out as something that's it shows you how much the characters connect with people.
Right.
Do you think one of the reasons you like the Guardians of the Galaxy part so much is because they actually had a chance to have some chemistry with each other, whereas a lot of the other Avengers, they so she was hey, how's it going? There's no there's no chance for the Avengers to actually have any opportunity to have any chemistry with each other.
Yeah.
At all. Whereas the Guardians did have a chance.
Yeah, and they're a really tight cast that has really good chemistry together, and they're so funny.
It was
just all of the stuff with Thor on their ship and like, Peter Quill like lowering his voice to like sound like Thor and like, and how they're calling him like Pirate Angel and like just like everything that happened is like they're so funny, and how much they can make me care about that raccoon. I just continue to be like so in awe that they can make me care so much.
I was surprised at how much I liked the chemistry between Strange, Stark, and Parker.
Yeah.
Like, that was actually kind of a fun little... The wizard.
Yeah. You love Doctor Strange.
I do love Doctor Strange.
I do too, and I agree with you 100%, David. The watching Tony Stark have to deal with somebody as cocky and snotty and competent, or possibly competent as him, that's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked all of that.
Doctor Strange is just Tony Stark wizard.
I know, that's what's so much fun about
it.
Is he really is just, they are, and that's the thing that I think is so great about these movies is they do seem to be so insanely smart about their characters, and they are so aware.
There's no false note.
Right.
Like character wise, like no one ever does something where you're like, they wouldn't do that.
Right. And
like they really do know their characters. And David actually pointed something out after the movie where you were talking about how crazy smart Doctor Strange is.
He is, yeah, he's ridiculously smart.
Do you want to talk about that?
Well, just the very mention of an end game, like here begins the end game. Like he already looked into the possibilities and the outcomes, and he knew that he was going to be giving up the time stone.
Yeah,
he knew that was his choice. He knew what to do, and that must have been an extremely difficult, painful thing to do. Mm-hmm. But I feel like, I think Strange had a reason for just giving it up like that.
I want to ask one more thing. Is Doctor Strange your favorite?
Favorite
of the characters in the movie, or is Spidey your favorite? Because
in this movie, it's between those two. But I have an affinity for those two. I read those comics.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to see them portrayed well on the big screen. Mm-hmm. And I didn't. So it's part of that is coming through, I think, too. And also, I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch and what's his name? Like, they're really good. They play the characters perfectly.
Right.
So,
well, I think that...
Iron Spider-Man suit. The Iron Spidey suit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think for me, that's... Hold on. Okay. Sorry. Hold on for a second. I think that's the thing why I think I was so satisfied. Marvel has such a rock-solid lock on its characters and what it should do with those characters. Because I think a lot of people, in a weird way, would think like, having Doctor Strange essentially be a Tony Stark is kind of a weakness or like a foot put wrong, because they already have a Tony Stark type figure in the universe. But then they kind of run directly at that, and they take these two characters and have them smash against each other to kind of reveal something about the other, which I think is really, it really is fun to watch another character outthink Tony and watch him try to kind of react to that and deal with that. And
so in Marvel, in Civil War, in the comic,
right, people
always wondered like what side did Tony Stark, did Doctor Strange take? Like, why didn't he take a side? Mm-hmm. And because he was the one character that could have solved the war, basically, because he's Doctor Strange.
Right.
And he saw no benefit to either one, so he just was Switzerland. But he was so powerful, like, he could have gone and completely swayed it in one direction or the other. Like, that's how, in the comics, that's how powerful. He actually leads the X-Men through the 9 planes of hell, or however many planes of hell, and navigates their way out of hell.
Right.
Like, he's ridiculous.
Yeah, I kind of don't know what else to say. And that's the thing, is the characters are done so well. And I think that's what I look for to these Marvel movies to give me is fun, engaging characters interacting in fun, engaging ways. But they never seem to break through that, tying together the theme and the characters and the story and the all in one really, really tight package. Everything is typically kind of loose, kind of, I don't want to say sloppy because that sounds like a detriment, but it's just kind of, freewheeling. And it's just so fun to see that, that I really like it. But now I guess we come to the end, and I think possibly one of the reasons I like this, and I think this might be what's dividing us, is one of the reasons I like this so much is I can forgive a lot for a satisfying ending. And I was immensely satisfied with this ending.
That is so interesting. Oh, well, that's what it really comes down to.
The ending
Right.
at the end of the credits, or the ending of the...
No, the ending of the movie, which is we are going to show you the bad guy gets what he wants. The bad guy literally talks about, I want to do this, and then I want to sit and watch the sunset. And the last shot we see is Thanos having carried out his plan, watching the sunset with a smile on his face. And it's just like, holy smokes, they're really doing it. They really did this. I think that's the audacity.
The ending.
Right.
I guess was just too much of a bump. You know what it was? That ending might have been fine with me. Like I said, it was just too much to sit through 2.5 hours of these characters getting beat up and killed.
Right. Yeah.
It's a lot to ask. I'm kind of surprised that everyone loves this movie so much, to be honest.
Well,
because it's so hard.
Here, let me throw a theory by you that might explain it.
And before you talk about your theory, I want to say there is a thing in the movie that I was like, okay, we get it, which is they're like one of the heroes is fighting somebody, and oh no, they're gonna die. Oh, something bad. Oh no, they're not, because Thor. So and so has shown up. No,
right.
Here's Thor. Here's Captain. Here's
Sam and Diane.
That's right.
Like. They do it many, many times. I think. Would you say the first one was?
The first one was awesome when Captain America.
When Captain America shows up
in Scotland.
And I super love Captain America. I got very excited to see him.
Right.
But then they do it like 3 or 4 more times.
And they do. That's true.
Like, we get it.
You know what? I'm
like said, like they followed all the basic tropes. Like there's nothing. There's nothing super inventive.
Right.
In terms of. It's pretty rote in terms of the story and how it was shot.
Possibly. One of the things that I think is impressive about so self-aware about what acting and wanting, that they always seem to twitch or go left when everybody's expecting them to go right to keep the satisfaction going. And I'm wondering if this movie, for several years now, has had such a reputation of, the serious stuff that's going to happen in Infinity Wars. And the common criticism of Marvel movies is, they always pull their punches at the last minute. They're not going to really do the thing. And for the movie, it seems like, here we go. We heard about all these supposed deaths, and their heroes coming in at the last minute to save the day, and no one's really going to get hurt. And then at the end, Thanos snaps his fingers. Half of the life in the universe dies. We get to see 10 minutes of all of our favorite characters literally turning to ash.
Yeah.
And I think my theory, or for me, of why people are liking that is Hollywood, a lot of times, especially with these big franchise films, they are very calculated in not irritating or scaring or hurting the audience too much. They're always sanding off the edges, pulling punches, making sure characters are not too unlikable, that everybody can kind of get along, that they, it's kind of one of the old, can we make the characters more likable? Can we make things happier kind of things? And the fact that they had the audacity to say, we are going to murder. We've spent 18 movies building all these up, and now we are going to murder all of these characters. When I was trying to, they killed off so many so fast that it was like the next day that I was realizing, there's only one Guardian of the Galaxy left. There's the Rocket, and that's it. The fact that they killed off. And I would just like to point out and pat myself on the back.
Wait, did Peter Quill, was he one of the people? Oh,
He
yeah.
was one
Okay,
of the
that's right.
people. And this is where I get to point to in a very ego-centric way. What did I say they should have done with Peter Parker Spider-Man 2 months ago or 4 months ago when we were talking about this?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay. That's what I deserve.
Give him metallic limbs that pop out of the back.
No,
of
I was saying they should kill him. They should kill him to show the stakes. They're going to be able to bring him back. They should murder him, and they did. And then they went on to kill.
Sad.
They went on to kill Black Panther. Yeah, the fact that they killed off Black Panther and Spider-Man, and they killed off everybody whose series they want to still keep going.
Yeah.
The fact that they had the audacity to actually follow through with that and make the movie going public sit through a year of, oh my God, what have they done? Even though we know that everything's going to turn out fine, I'm very happy. I'm very satisfied.
So now the guessing game, like, who's really dead? Because obviously some people are legitimately dead. Some people are not coming back.
Right. So like,
So who do you think is...
like Loki is probably legitimately dead.
I've heard a theory, that everybody that dies before Thanos snapped his finger, they're dead forever.
So Vision is dead.
So Vision
Loki
is dead. Loki is dead. Gamora is dead. And one of the things
that upsets me.
One of the things that might buttress this is the fact that James Gunn, who's working on Guardians of the Galaxy 3 right now, mentioned that the lineup of Guardians 3 is different from what's come before, so that might hint. Or it could... the other thing, and we were saying this before we went on the air, in the last three days, I have stopped several stupid nerd arguments about, this they can't bring people back like this because that breaks the rules for that stone or this stone or whatever. Look, the point is, these stones and these rules can do whatever you need them to do. It's whatever the writers need them to do. We're not going to know the rules or the gimmicks or the undos or whatevers until a year from now when we see Avengers 4 and they bring back who they're going to bring back. I strongly suspect that they are going to end up killing Tony Stark, Captain America. They're going to be bringing back, the new, Avengers 5 is going to be Black Panther, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and the old Avengers are going to be done. The new Avengers are going to be all the characters that are going on.
So Bucky does become Captain America.
I hope not. Oh, man, I hope
in the
not.
Comics.
I know he does.
He does come back.
Oh.
Well, let me ask you this. Bucky becomes Captain America, but doesn't also Falcon become Captain America?
Oh, that I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he does. That's what I would like to see. I'd like to see.
Falcon had like a line in this movie, maybe.
Right.
Like it was like, where should we go, Cap?
Hard left.
It's like,
right.
Bomb.
like there's the downside of all these characters that they get like a line.
Right. I think I think that's just kind of one of the things that I like about it is we have so many characters that even big characters are shunted to essentially kind of glorified extra roles. But okay. the main thread, the fact that they're focusing mostly on Thanos, and I found that journey kind of interesting and fun to watch. Was, I don't know, I just really liked it. But I will freely admit I am a total Marvel movie zombie. So
you are.
I might have, I might be too bought in, too much of a fanboy.
Didn't you think of his three little baddies that come down to fight in Wakanda?
Mm-hmm.
The last one to die, didn't he look a lot like the Green Goblin, only gray?
Yeah. Yes.
Didn't he looked a lot like the Green Goblin, just saying.
Do you think that's a connection or something?
I don't know, but he really looks like the Green Goblin. Maybe it's not him, but maybe he's of a race of goblin creatures.
Could be. So David, is there anything else that you would like to say about this?
I would, but I'm turning into ash.
Not so fast.
I like that it's ended with Thanos will return.
Yes.
And also, people have already gone beyond. It's the spoiler area, but you really do want to watch till the end of the credits, of course, because there is stuff.
Here's how much I like this. I would have loved if they had not had an after credit sequence.
Yeah.
And it's just over. I've heard this in several places. So in the last couple of years, they've had not just an end credit sequence, but like a mid credit sequence or a couple mid, and it usually comes after the name of the movie comes up in the end credits.
Yeah.
Here, nothing.
What about Thanos eating some shawarma in a little boutique, just quietly sipping?
That would have been so sweet.
Some ramen.
If it was just nothing.
I didn't like the post-credit sequence at all.
No,
I thought it was kind of stupid.
I think it's funny that that's when he calls Red Alert, not when like huge alien ships are landing on Earth or any of that stuff, but it's when a car crashes in front of him and there's no one in it.
Right.
He thought it was OnStar.
That it was like, oh, Nick Fury almost said the F word.
Right.
Like that's the whole. Like that's stupid. That was dumb.
All right, Sonia Mansfield. Is there anything else?
I do have more things to say.
Okay.
What did you think about how they casually mentioned where Ant-Man and Hawkeye are?
It was fine. It was.
You're fine with that?
Yeah, I don't. We're gonna find out what happened to Ant-Man in a month and a half anyway. So I that is one of the things that I do find irritating with some of the Marvel fanboys. It's kind of like when they talk about the Netflix series and all this stuff's happening in New York and we never see Daredevil or we never see this or that, or how many times has like there been like a big police situation in, I don't know, Los Angeles, and the police force for Irvine just, oh my God, something's happening in Los Angeles, let's go. You know what I mean? And they just, no, we don't need them. Not everybody, when something like this happens, not everybody has to be involved. It doesn't make storytelling sense. It makes sense for, I don't know, maybe Daredevil was sleeping one off or something, and by the time he wakes up, Spider-Man and the donut ship are gone. I don't know. It was only there for like 20 minutes.
It seemed weird to me because Ant-Man and Hawkeye were already in it. It wasn't like, they would just be randomly joining the show or something.
What do you mean they were already in it?
Well, like Ant-Man was in Civil War. Like he was one of the people that got arrested or whatever.
Right.
He was already in it. And it's like, he took a deal and he's out of here. And
right.
Now, to be fair, I haven't seen the first Ant-Man, so maybe that's totally in character.
I think it might be because he was.
I will see it. I do think Ant-Man and the Wasp looks very entertaining.
Yeah.
So I will see Ant-Man.
Did you have a problem? Did you find it irritating that, because a lot of people are talking about Hawkeye?
It didn't bother me. I was just I know that some other people were bothered by it. It doesn't bother me. I did want to know where Valkyrie is.
I suspect I would put serious money on the fact that essentially she and all the characters we like, Korg, all the characters we like from Thor Ragnarok, she got him out. She escaped. Loki.
Maybe they could have mentioned that.
Well,
that would have been nice.
I've heard.
Be a good place for a surprise, though.
I guess so.
Yeah, I've heard that there supposedly.
No, I don't want to be surprised.
That's right. I've heard there's some chatter that, like, kind of in the sound mixing that they did, of the distress calls from the Asgard ship, that there is some mention of another ship that got away. That, so kind of like. They kind of wrote themselves out, but it's kind of like not.
Well, that
it's
seems
not
pretty easy to miss.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is easy to miss. So, is there anything else that you would like to say about?
I think I've said plenty. Please send all your hate mail to the Sonia Show.
No, don't send. You know what? Here's what I want you to do with your hate mail.
You can email me.
No. Take your hate mail and cram it up where things
Smith, do you want to make your announcement?
A little bit.
Well, maybe he has final thoughts on.
Do you have final thoughts?
My final thoughts is.
I don't care. Never mind. Go on.
Yeah. My final thought is, don't send your hate mail to Sonia because she's allowed to not like a movie. It is just a movie. Who cares? Her non-enjoyment, her heartbreaking sadness at this movie does not in any way change your satisfaction with this movie, so who cares?
Her inability to enjoy entertainment
This is not
is truly
true.
a cross for only her to bear.
None of these things are true.
Yeah, no, they're not true. Well, so yeah, I guess now is the time to make a little announcement. In that, it's a little hard for me to say this. I am taking a hiatus from the Dorking Out Show.
Wait, what?
I'm out of here. Bye, bitch. No.
Click. Show never gets out.
That's right. I finally had the nerve to say bitch, and then I'm out. We've gone 113 episodes without me being that mean to Sonia. I don't have the balls to stick around after I've done it, so I'm leaving. No.
I'm out.
Well, Sonia and I, for the last couple of months, have had several discussions. We've realized that our critics' opinions are nearly identical, so I am essentially redundant.
That's right.
We're getting rid of me. We don't need me.
Even though on this movie we clearly didn't agree.
That's right. It's painfully obvious to listeners of the Dorking Out Show that this show does not need me.
That's not true. That is not true.
For various reasons, one of which has been turned into a painful, long-running joke on this show, which is I'm having a hard time getting all the things done I need to get done. The chief one of which is finishing this stupid book.
It's not stupid. Don't say it like that.
It's thank you. I appreciate it. So I have to step away from dorking out on a weekly basis. I will be back to do certain episodes, and I will be back to be on the show from time to time. But
this is only a temporary thing.
It's just a temporary.
It is a temporary thing. I am a little nervous about it because, since we started the show.
You're afraid the show will do super awesome without you.
That's right. I can't take. Yeah, if it goes into the ground and explodes, I'll be fine with that. But if it takes off and is a success, that will just kill me inside because I'm a monster. But no. So yeah, for a couple weeks, a couple months, I've also started working on a lot more on another political podcast for various reasons that Sonia and I have talked about. Is we have to do something in this country to get things back on track. So I am working on a new podcast that has eaten up a huge amount of my schedule, and it is not me. You will be happy to know that I do not talk on this other podcast.
That doesn't make me happy.
It's called NorCal News Now. It is a political podcast trying to create a space where people on the left and right can talk without being assholes.
Sounds hard.
So between those two things, I'm bummed to say it. I'm bummed that this happened. Or I'm bummed that this is going on, but...
Stop talking about it like it's forever.
No, it's not forever. I'm sorry. It's not forever.
He's just taking a little break. He's taking like a hiatus. He's taking a sabbatical. A sabbatical. I think that's a great way to describe it.
You know what? That happens.
Sabbatical.
Yeah.
And while he's gone, I'm going to keep the mic warm. I'm going to have a series of guest hosts. David is going to help. He's been kind enough to...
But we're going to have some good ones, too.
Yeah.
It's just a hiatus. He's just taking a long walk off a short pier.
So that's what's going on.
I hope that rehab really works out for you, Smith.
It's not going to take.
This time it'll stick.
Yeah, this time stick, you guys.
God, wouldn't that be?
No, we have... David is going to join us, and, I'm sure that, I'll just go ahead and start dropping names right now. I'm sure that Peter Brown will be here. I'm sure that Margot from Best Neighbors podcast and Book versus Movie will come on. We will have a series of guest hosts. I know I'm going to do an episode with my father that everyone will want to hear. It's going to be really good.
It's going to be great. I'm very much looking forward to listening to a show that I'm not on for a change.
I can't wait to talk uninterrupted. I kid. I'm going to miss you. You know that.
You're not wrong. I'm going to miss you too. I'm going to miss the show. I'm going to be paying attention on Facebook, paying attention on Twitter. I'm going to be paying attention. So
I won't be too shitty on you.
So here's what's going to happen. Actually, you know what? This is going to be fun. This is going to be my last little awful bon mot before I leave. If you are a true fan of the show, what I want you to do is tweet at us and Facebook at us. Chris, we're going to miss you. And if you don't, I'm going to know that you are not a true fan of the show.
Oh. I'll tweet to you, Smith.
Now, well, see, I know you're a fan. Now you know why I like the awful, bleak ending of Avengers Infinity War, because I'm awful.
Yes.
So, anyway, with that,
no, I'm gonna super miss you, and but I know that you need to get those things done, and I'll hold down the podcasting fort until you return.
I am looking forward to it. Actually, this is my secret plan to only review movies that I want to see. So I'll be back for Solo. I'll be back for Ant-Man. I'll be back for Incredibles 2. But all the other shitty movies, so he's going to have to watch on
that,
her
you
own.
guys. He's going to be back like every other week. He's hardly taking a sabbatical at all.
That's right. So, all right, Sonia Mansfield, is there anything else you would like to say before you take complete control of the show and lock me out forever?
I'll just say goodbye.
Bye.